So we're back then with another in-depth breakdown for Marvel's Midnight Suns. Today we'll look at Nico Minoru, a character I didn't know much about before Midnight Suns, but after playing and finishing the game, I'm actually a pretty big fan of her now. Now, in this video, I will be able to cover absolutely everything you need to know about the character. The reason being that I've had access to the game for the last few weeks. I've got all heroes unlocked at max level, all cards unlocked, and all friendships maxed out for the heroes as well. So what will we be covering? We start off with an overview. We'll talk about her general playstyle. We'll then break down the cards first. This is all the tier 2 versions of the cards. We'll then talk about the stat priority for her. We have Hangouts in the friendship system next. We'll then check out the challenge mission, and finishing up we'll do a quick summary and I'll show off some gameplay as well. Now if the video is helpful, take the time to hit the like, share and subscribe button, and if you want early access to other videos in this series, consider becoming a channel member as well. But let's dive in, let's start breaking this down. Characters then can fulfill 3 different roles in Marvel's Midnight Suns. You've got your damage dealers, you've got your support characters, and then you've got your tanks as well. So with Nico, she can be a hybrid character. She could do a mix of damage and support, or if you want you can go all in the damage, or you can go all in the support. Personally, I prefer to go all in the support because I have Iron Man in my team and he can provide me with all the damage I need and more. Now there is quite a bit of randomness in her kit. Of course you've got the fact that you'll get random cards that are actually drawn each turn, but on top of that as well you'll have certain cards that, let's just say for example a card could do a status effect. There may be 4 different types of status effect and it's random which one it will actually give you. So she definitely feels like a character that, once again, there's a whole lot of randomness thrown in there on top of the fact you've already got your random card rolls. But what this means is sometimes you may not get the right card for her, but sometimes you'll get an absolutely incredible card. So it's just really whether or not you're willing to put up with that extra element of being unsure what's going to happen next with her. If you are willing to do that, then sometimes it will pay off, and when it does pay off it can be something really pretty special. But that is a quick breakdown. Next, let's go in and look at the cards for her. Heroes then have access to 10 different cards in total. The tooltips we'll be looking at today will be for the upgraded tier 2 version. Mods, we're not really going to get too in depth for these. They can make a big difference on cards, but they're so complex I'm going to do deep dive videos at a later date where we really get into mods and what they are able to do. But the first card we'll look at here for Nico, normally on heroes this is a quick steal card where when you defeat the enemy you'll get the card play back. She doesn't actually have a card like this such in her kit, which is a bit of a surprise. So when you're using Nico in a team, make sure your other teammates do have quick cards because they're really great for taking out your lower level minion enemies. But this card here, this is called Curse, and you'll see with this and the numerous cards we look at there's an element of randomness with them. So with this here, you'll do your base damage, you'll gain 1 heroism. Also with this you'll be able to either apply stun, 2 marked, 2 vulnerable or weak, and that's selected randomly when the card is actually drawn. I'll just say very quickly, for random cards such as this where when it actually gets put into your hand it may not be useful due to what it's actually doing status effect wise, you want to try and get a mod that will give you a bonus on redraw. So it could be for example that you get resist on redraw, or you get health back or block back in redraw. So it means if the card is played, it's got a random status that isn't useful to you, just redraw it and get a bonus on the back of it. But that's the first card there. Let's check out the next one. The next card we have here is Blood for Blood. It actually does a decent amount of damage. This one is generating 1 heroism, and on KO you will restore, in this instance it's 272 health to Nico or an ally, and once again that is actually selected randomly there, so it might heal an enemy that doesn't actually need to heal. For that reason I'm not a massive fan of this card, and this is one that normally doesn't make its way into my deck because you are of course limited to just 8 cards. This next card here just really sums up perfectly how a damage build on Nico can play out. You can either do an absolute ton of damage or it can be a bit underwhelming, and it's just really a roll of the dice in regards to which way it goes. So this is called Witchfire. You can see it's got really high base damage, this one. In fact it generates heroism as well, and with this you'll damage a random enemy. On KO it recasts Witchfire, a maximum of 3 recasts. So if you're lucky enough and it takes out an enemy, then this could be hitting 4 different enemies, which means it's spread out, but it would be doing over 1000 damage. So it's an amazing card, but once again it's completely random. Sometimes it will hit an enemy with a high health pool and that's it, it stops there. So yeah, that's just kind of Nico summed up, unfortunately. So we have our first support card here. This is called Empower. This particular one, when you use it, you draw a heroic card and you change the cost of all heroic cards in your hand to 0 until the end of turn. You're not generating any heroism on this one, but this can be incredibly useful. Times I like to use this is you've got certain characters that will consume all their heroism, so that can be the likes of Wolverine or even Nico. They'll consume all their current heroism to buff the damage on one of their attacks and take the damage to absolutely absurd levels, but it does feel pretty bad to potentially consume up to 10 heroism. With this card, you'll get the full bonus of having that amount of heroism, but you won't actually consume it. So yeah, under the right situation, this can be a right game changer. The next card we have is in our nice support ones. This is called Blood Magic. So with this, it's random what you actually get, similar to some of the other cards we've looked at. So when you draw this, you either apply 2 Blood Magic, counter, fast or strengthened to Nico or an ally. You can select which ally actually gets it and you'll draw one of that particular ally's cards as well. On top of this, it will generate 2 heroism. From a support perspective, this is pretty amazing. I'm not a huge fan of Blood Magic, but counter can come in really useful if you put it on the likes of Cap and he's taunted a lot of characters. Fast will reduce the heroism cost on your hero that you select, and then strengthen gives you an additional 50% damage. And I actually used that on Iron Man today to finish a ultimate free playthrough in basically 2 turns. I absolutely nuked the screen using this card and using an upgraded card on Iron Man as well. So yeah, I really like this one. The next card we have here then is Restore. This particular one, restore all health. If target is less than 50% hit points, then you do not discard, otherwise it will be exhausted and you can't use it again. With this, it will generate 2 heroism as well. Could be useful on the harder difficulties, but to be honest, I prefer to just try and nuke the enemy down and have all their attention go towards a tank. I genuinely don't really have to heal, and because you can only have 8 cards, space is too valuable to take this in, I reckon. So yeah, I've never really used this one myself. So this next card here can really turn a battle. So this one is called Double Up. With this, you generate a copy of each attack, skill or heroic that's currently in your hand. This is selected randomly which type of card you actually generate, and you get 2 heroism with this as well. So just as an example, one time I've used this and it was absolutely amazing is I also had Empower, so that was ability to make all my heroic cards cost 0. So what I actually done is I used this card. I already had Nico's Midnight Suns card, which I'll show in just a moment, in my hand, so I made a duplicate of that card. I had 10 heroism that I would normally use all that heroism to boost my damage, but then I used the Empower card, which meant it didn't cost me any heroism, and I essentially cast the Midnight Suns card, boosted up to 10 heroism 2 times in a row, and I absolutely nuked everyone. So really pretty awesome. The first heroic card we have here, depending on when it's drawn, it will actually do a lackluster amount of damage or an insane amount of damage. So it's essentially, it can do it's 100% base damage, or it can do an additional 350%, and it's just random when the card is actually drawn. So it's called Swarm, the card in question. It only costs 1 heroism, so if you get a version of it that's drawn and it's giving you the full 350%, then it's hitting like a truck for a very small amount of heroism, but the chances are that most likely it will be in the lower side. Now with this card, mod wise, try and look for some kind of bonus and redraw, so that way if you do actually roll this card and it's got the low damage numbers, you can just redraw it and get a bonus instead. So it can be a useful card, but again, really pretty random. The next card we have here is Witch Storm. It's 2 heroism to cast this particular one. With it, you target an enemy and then you damage that enemy or a random enemy nearby 4 times. So all in for 2 heroism, it's doing around about 400 damage, but it is random. Of course, if there's only one enemy in the area, you'll be hitting them all 4 times, but the damage numbers in this seem a little bit on the lower side, and there are other cards I would recommend you use over this if you're looking for a damage setup. So this final card here is really pretty amazing. Even if you are running a support build on her, I would still say this is worthwhile actually taking. So this is Crack the Sky. With this, you consume all heroism to damage random enemies X number of times, and it would be 1 for each heroism, so that's up to 10 times, and you gain 1 heroism for each KO. When you use this, it's got exhaust on it as well. So I mentioned earlier on in the video, you can actually use this with the card. That means you don't actually use any heroism. If you've got a full 10 heroism, you'll be doing 10 attacks. If there's only one enemy left, for example a boss, you can see the base damage is 200 times 10. That means you can do up to 2000 damage to a boss with this particular card, and if you've rolled again the card before where you don't consume any heroism, then it's not costing you anything other than a card play. So absolutely amazing, you definitely want to have this in your kit. But that is all the cards. Let's now talk about the stats. During the day then in the Abbey you can do something known as daily sparring. Now with this, a random stat will come up each day and you can choose to train a specific hero in that particular stat. Once you've done that, you can't train them for the next 4 days, so you want to make sure you choose the best stats for them. Now if you're going for a damage build for Nico, of course you would go for crit chance and crit damage. For a support build, none of the stats are really that obvious. She doesn't have AoE attacks, so she wouldn't benefit from the power stat or anything like that. So what I've went for when I've had the chance on her is resilience. That means it's harder for a status effect to land on her. That's the likes of stun. Now the reason I like that is, as a support character, I really value having her cards available when I most need them, so I can use, for example, a card that will add strength just before I fire off a hard hitting attack on Iron Man. So yeah, for that reason I would say for a support build, go for resilience, and you don't have to worry too much about status effects locking you out using one of our support skills. But that's the stats. Let's talk about the Hangouts and the friendship system. The friendship system and Hangouts are incredibly important in Midnight Suns. Once you hit level 5 and you max out the friendship in a character, you unlock a prestige system where every time you level up after that you'll get a random stat for your character, and these stats can really start to build up and make a difference. So the Hangouts, you only get the choice of doing them every few days, so you want to make sure you choose the best Hangout. Your hero will either love, like or dislike a particular Hangout. For Nico, the ones you want to choose that will give you the most points and she loves are watching a movie, pool lounging, stargazing and deep conversation. You can go on a certain Hangout during the day as well. You can only do this once per playthrough. The one that Nico loves and would give you the most points there would be picnic. So if you do that, you'll be able to increase your prestige levels in no time and you'll be getting a ton of stats on the back of it. Now next up, let's talk about the challenge mission. The challenge mission then is where you unlock your Midnight Suns costume and your legendary Midnight Suns card, and Nico's card's really pretty awesome. Now these missions are essentially puzzles. You only get a set number of cards and there's normally a set number of enemies you need to take down. You have to follow what I'm showing in this gameplay here exactly. If you deviate from it at all, even with one card, even to the slightest, then you won't be able to beat this. It took me quite a while to figure out quite a lot of these puzzles, and that's why I'm showing the gameplay for them. So I'll let this gameplay play out. Once again, follow it to the exact letter, and then in a moment what we'll do is we'll do a quick summary and we'll show off some gameplay as well. So Nico then is actually the main support character I use in my core team. I won't spoil who the rest of the team is, I'll talk about that at a later date, but out of the different characters that are available for support, yes, she's got that element of randomness, but I still feel she is the strongest one, and she's been able to completely turn around some matches for me. Now, I will mention just once again for what you want to do, because sometimes when you get a card they'll be useless for what you're looking for, get your mods with redraw on them so you can get a bonus on the back of it. So if you're redrawn, you're at least getting something from it. But overall, really quite surprised by how good she actually is, and I love the character within the game as well. You'll get to see that as you play through. She's a character that really evolves through the story, and yeah, definitely a big fan of her, even though I didn't know much about her at all. So that really is everything you need to know about Nico and Midnight Suns. If the video was helpful, take the time to hit the like, share and subscribe button, and if you want early access to other videos such as this, consider becoming a channel member as well. But thanks for tuning in for this, stay safe, we'll finish up with a little bit of gameplay, and I'll see you all again soon.
I've got you.
Going for it. Watch closely.
Digging deeper, reaching for something to call for.
That actually hurt a little.
Didn't you try that already? It's over for you. Seem to lose them. Here we go. That's the stuff. We've got to stick together. Any progress is good progress.
You started it.
That staff of yours is something else.